We're finally out west. We've escaped middle America. And today's our 2025 St. Louis Mariners.
He said St. Louis Mariners. You see, it's been a long day for William when he starts talking crazy about baseball. We have the St. Louis Mariners. I think St. Louis Cardinals fans would be so insulted. But today we're talking. Let me just take it from here.
I'll leave it in. I'll leave that in.
I know. I leave it in. But hey, welcome to the Locked In Sports Podcast. I'm joined today. My name is Luis Barranco, and as I'm joined every single time for a baseball podcast, it is William Block. William, how are you doing today?
I'm great. We're out west in Seattle with the Seattle Mariners. Excited for this team preview. I think this one, we could have some back and forth. I think this is, I don't know. I kind of view the Mariners as like assessing the Mariners is kind of like assessing your ball knowledge in a way. I think this is a very interesting team with the way they're approaching the roster construction, the way their park works. And I think there's a lot to talk about with this team this year. Last year was disappointing. They missed the playoffs, 85-77 last year. Missed the playoffs in a bad division nonetheless. Just missed the playoffs, but still. I am intrigued to see where this conversation takes us today because I certainly have some thoughts on this team.
So they had an epic collapse midseason and they ended up firing their manager, Scott Servais, unfortunately, because of the big collapse.
Yep.
So, when you talk about Seattle, we finally were able to leave, which was the Central Block, and now we're out west in the Pacific Northwest. Statistically, the hardest ballpark to hit, T-Mobile Park, that's one of their issues. When you look at their lineup, you got Victor Robles in right, Julio Rodríguez in center, Cal Raleigh at catcher, Platinum Glove winner Cal Raleigh, left fielder Randy Arozarena, Luke Raley at first, DH Mitch Haniger, J.P. Crawford shortstop, Jorge Polanco at third, and Dylan Moore at second. They got Mitch Garver, who's going to be platooning and splitting time at DH and maybe a little bit of catching. And then you have rotation, probably the best rotation front to bottom, depth-wise, with Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, and Brian Wu, with closer Andres Munoz. So, William, tell me about it. How are we feeling about this team this year? I know we have really, really mixed opinions on this team.
Yeah, I think it's the best rotation in the sport. I mean, last year, you look at their stats, first in ERA, first in WHIP, first in walks per nine, 12th in strikeouts per nine, first in hits per nine, 11th in home runs per nine. The rotation is elite. I do think the park factor plays a pretty big role in that. If this rotation, you move them to maybe a more neutral site like, Milwaukee or a Chicago, a place that really, the elements play a big role. I don't know if they're the best rotation, but given the circumstances of the fact that T-Mobile is such a tough place to hit, it's the best rotation in the sport. They refuse to move on from any of these guys this offseason. There was interest. There definitely was interest. And there were offers, and they wanted to keep their guys. They wanted to keep the rotation intact, to keep that first place rotation intact. The question here is, it's going to be, again, the lineup. Last year, 29th in average, 12th in home runs, 22nd in OPS. You had a very disappointing season from J-Rod, who, people were picking. I actually picked him to win the MVP heading into last season. He finished with a 734 OPS, only 20 home runs, which is, in 2023, he was at 32, 24 stolen bases, really bad K rate. I think this lineup is going to go as Julio Rodríguez goes. But I also look at guys like Randy Arozarena, who noted that he struggled adjusting to the new settings in Seattle. I think he's going to have a bounce back season, which is going to be big. You're going to need Victor Robles to continue his form. Can Luke Raley be good? Mitch Haniger, they're paying him a lot of money to DH, and he hasn't been that great. Can he have a bounce back season? Can J.P. Crawford be there this year? Can he be healthy? He only played 104 games last year. It's his sixth straight season as the opening day shortstop for the Mariners. Can Dylan Moore be a guy? Can he hold off that second base position until Cole Young takes over? Cole Young is widely believed to be the guy to take over at second base for this team moving forward. They also have good prospects in Colt Emerson, who's not going to be ready this year. Lazaro Montez not going to be ready this year. So, and then Cole Young, I mentioned, he might be up, but he might need a little more seasoning. Harry Ford at catcher. I feel like he's kind of blocked by Cal Raleigh right now. Is he going to come up at DH a little bit? The farm system is really good. They have 7 top 100 guys according to MLB. But again, sorry, I talked a lot, but I think the biggest question here is undoubtedly, again, the lineup and how they are able to produce.
Hey, that's always been the question. I mean, we talked about the pitching. They were looking at guys like Tristan Costas, Masataka Yoshida. There were so many questions about were they going to move one on to get a better lineup, bat, and they just went and got Jorge Polanco. So, I mean,
re-signed him, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just you expect them to come back to form. I mean, they did have an unfortunate event that collapse they had mid-season, but then it's just like, what is it? What's the definition of insanity?
It's trying the same thing over and over again, and kind of feels like that's what they're doing again. I feel like we've been screaming year after year after year for this team to go out and get some bats. You play in the toughest place to hit in the sport. You have the rotation. Like, it's there. There's really no point in having an elite 1 through 5. I understand it helps for the regular season, but once you get to the playoffs, you're really only using 3, maybe 4 starters. So they really, I understand maybe wanting to keep those guys together, but maybe I would understand it more if their lineup was better than it is. And, you finish with the second worst batting average in the sport last year, about middle of the pack in home runs and toward the bottom in OPS. Like, the lineup was bad, and you didn't really they didn't do anything to address it in the offseason, if we're being honest. It's frustrating. You got to be really frustrated if you're a Mariners fan about this lineup.
You have no confidence in this team, it sounds like.
I have no confidence in their lineup. I have confidence in the rotation. I have confidence in guys like Randy Arozarena to have bounce back seasons. I think JP Crawford, if he's fully healthy, I think he can get back to that 2023 form. I don't have confidence in them winning the World Series because, that's some of the expectation that teams had for this team, or people had for this team heading into last year. I had them in my World Series last year against the Phillies. That was my pick.
Yeah, I mean, now it's your first full year for manager Dan Wilson.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, I just don't know. Like I said, they need to get bats, and they don't do it. I mean, I don't know what more to say. I think that's just like the common theme. It's frustrating, and I mean, I just think it's something with the park because they had Teoscar, didn't work out, and they got to do something.
If you're a free agent, it has to be through trade, because if you're a free agent hitter, you're not going to Seattle. It would be kind of career suicide. So, but the thing is, they have the arms available to go out and get a really good bat, and they don't do it. Even the bullpen's good. Andres Munoz is one of the best closers in the sport. Matt Brash is going to be coming back from Tommy John, hopefully, I don't know, something like mid-season. Jackson Kowar, another reliever that got Tommy John in March of last year, probably should be back. So the pitching is great, man. And it's mostly homegrown, the rotation. Everyone outside of Castillo is homegrown.
I will say this, they're not afraid to make a big move. I mean, they did that huge move for Luis Castillo where they gave up Novelli Marte, Edwin Arroyo, a lot of guys. So
they won that trade.
Yeah.
As of now, it's still TBD, but as of now, they won it.
As of now, but we'll see. Do you think that it's just like you look at teams that are bad? What is one guy that would you love to add to the lineup to Seattle?
Luis Robert.
How does he fit? That's my thing. I was going to say him, but how we kind of say it's like you have Julio at center, Victor Robles at right, and then you have Randy. So you're going to have Victor Robles?
Yeah. Or you can just put him at DH.
Then kick out Mitch Haniger with all his money. I mean, there's a lot of politics there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just interesting. I mean, we can agree. I think this team has more than two number one starters.
Yeah. It's the best rotation in the sport. They're so deep. It's ridiculous.
It is.
But it makes no difference if you can't hit. Now, the biggest thing with the lineup is getting J-Rod back to his form. If Julio Rodríguez gets back to MVP form, this is a guy a couple years ago we were talking about in the way we're talking about Bobby Witt Jr. right now as like the guy you want to build your franchise around for the next 10 years. Just the way it's weird the way baseball works, and star players can have bad years the way he did last year. And he wasn't even, he wasn't that bad, 273 with a 734 OPS, but for his standards, he wasn't there. So can he get back to what he was in 23, 22? That's the question. 21.
My thing is, like, what if the season goes south? What do you do with the team? Do you start selling off arms? Like, what do you do?
That's the thing. The farm system is there already. I think they got some bats coming up that are going to be able to answer some of these questions that we have. I think that's what they're relying on, especially too, because they don't have the farm, or they don't have the ability to get guys in free agency. But yeah, if things go south this year,
it's like their window's wide open. That's the thing. I'm looking at it from a window perspective. Like, what are you going to do, big dog?
Their only free agent notable is Mitch Haniger, and he's been bad. If you look at Castillo, he's locked up through. I mean, he's got a vesting option in 2028. And then, like Randy's a free agent in a couple of years. Logan Gilbert's locked up through 2027 through arbitration. Kirby's not a free agent until 2029. Brian Woo's not a free agent until 2030. Bryce Miller, same thing, 2030. Like their rotation's locked up, and the rotation gives them a window. And I think that kind of speaks to the fact, like, if you were to trade one of these young guys, you would get a mother load of a return because of the years of control that they have over these pitchers.
They have money to spend too. I mean, they have Julio locked up next year, 12 years, 209. Next year they'll lose the Haniger contract, and they have a mutual option with Mitch Garver at $12 million. So you should have around $27 million, about $29 million to blow next year. So it's very interesting. I feel like this team, looking at how they're made and how they're constructed, you're in a division where I don't want to say it's wide open, but you could be the class of the division, and it's going to come down to hitting. I think we would agree that they're on the upper echelon of AL teams. If they can hit.
If they can hit, they can win the World Series. Because the pitching is so good.
Yeah.
And I think they're the first team. This is probably the first team preview that we've done with a team that actually can win the World Series.
Now, my question is, what is the floor for them? We said they can win World Series. They're division winners, potential MVP level from Julio. What's their floor, in your opinion?
I think the floor is probably third in the division. Third? I don't think – actually, no. The floor is fourth. They finished behind Oakland.
Oh, wow.
And they win 70-something games.
That's crazy. I can see it. But at the same time, it's like we talked about it. I remember at the WBC, it's like they don't have any hitting. That's again, I don't want to beat the drum too much. They just don't have any hitting.
They don't have any hitting.
I think they can just be like that. But
I mean, and if you look at Texas, it's like, whew, and we'll get to that preview later, but their lineup is scary.
Yeah.
And the pitching is nowhere near the same level in Texas as it is in Seattle. So yeah, I think we could see a world in which those two teams are battling for the division down the stretch of September, because spoiler alert, I think Houston takes a step back this year. So
yeah. So I mean, Fangraphs has number 1 ERA, number 1 at WHIP, number 1 at walks per 9, 12 Ks per 9, 1 hits per 9, and 11th at home runs per 9. So elite starting pitching. Elite starting pitching, as William said.
Yeah.
So William, I'll say this. Like we said, I agree with the ceiling and the floor. I don't think the Athletics are better than that, than the Mariners. I think they'll finish third if that's their floor. So give me that. Last year they went 85 and 77. DraftKings not sponsored. Not sponsored. Over under 84.5. How are we feeling? I think this is a really good number in my opinion.
They won 85 last year, like you said, and they couldn't hit. But the pitching was the best in the league. I don't think the pitching is going to be the best in the league again, but I think the pitching be top 5 because the park factor here. Mm-hmm. You're going to need DH, you're going to need Mechaniger. You're going to need Randy Arozarena to step into form. They destroyed the Rays in that trade, by the way. They did bring in Donovan Solano. That was their notable offseason acquisition. He's going to play probably mostly first base. They gave him $3.5 million for one season. Over.
This is tough for me because I can see in a world where they go over and under. I'm going to actually take the under because I think that, like I said, in all of these preview podcasts, I think the AL is so good this year. I think there's so many good teams it's just going to be problematic. If you can't hit, you're going to have problems. And that's just the name of the game. You have you have to score runs to win.
Yeah, I don't think I have the guts to say they're going to win the division, but they can. Obviously, I said they can win the World Series. So I still haven't made my pick for a division winner in this division, but I think it's going to be close. I think this team can win 90 games. Like would you be surprised if Julio had a season this year like last year? Like, I feel like it's more likely that he bounces back to form.
I wouldn't be surprised that he bounces back to form, but I don't know. It could also be that he doesn't get back to that rookie form. My other problem that I see here is too, I was going to ask you, what do you value more in the modern day of baseball? Do you value more hitting or pitching right now in today's current age? We're in the era of pitching, and that's the thing.
It's a pitching era. Yeah. So that makes a good hitter more valuable because they're so much rarer now. And Julio can be that guy.
But they need more than one guy. That's the thing.
Julio is the most famous athlete in Seattle. He's beloved there.
I mean,
I think Randy can be a really good number 2 bat.
Yeah, but again, it's T-Mobile Park.
I know. Yeah.
It's a very difficult place to play. It's also pretty cold too. I know some people don't like the cold weather. We talk about a lot about that in those March, getting into October. So, hey, I like the team. I just got to see something. You got to show me something. I like what's going to change. And so, I'm going to take the under. Any closing remarks on these Mariners, William?
You're under, huh?
I'm like 50-50. I can see both.
Yeah.
I'm just going back and forth.
It's going to be the NL West, the American League West might be the
toughest.
Might be one of the, not toughest, but interesting. One of the most interesting divisions because I think the Astros, Mariners, and Rangers, all three of them could win the division. And I don't think the Astros will. I think it's going to be a battle between Seattle and Texas. So I'm over, you're under. I think they're going to be one of the more interesting teams to follow. Fangraphs gives them a 32% chance to win the division, and they give Texas a 32.9% chance to win the division. They give Seattle a 57% chance to make the playoffs and Texas a 58% chance. Houston, 53.
I don't know about that. I think some of those numbers are a little off in my opinion.
Okay.
But any closing remarks to wrap this one up?
No, just Seattle's a great city.
Yeah, I'm very great ballpark too. I'll be interested to see how they look. I'll definitely be tuning into some games. So
yeah, you like their City Connects?
Yeah, with the Poseidon thing.
Trident, yeah.
I like them. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of SpongeBob Barnacle Boy. That type of vibes.
Interesting.
So that's what I got. But hey, I'll definitely be tuning into some City Connects. So
yeah, I think Seattle is going to be. I always pick a West Coast team. They're in the running for like my West Coast team this year.
What's in your running so far? I mean, for me, it'd probably be Sacramento.
Seattle, early season Angels, just to see how things start out, and then in the National League. I mean, I love watching games in Dodger Stadium late night. Like, it's just such a cool park.
Yeah. And then you got Oral Hershiser on the call too.
Yeah. It's a good
so knowledgeable. Like, and I know Sacramento has a good knowledgeable. They got Dallas Braden too. So
I like Dallas Braden. Yeah. Colorado. No, I'm not going to watch them that much. Arizona will be interesting. Like, there's a lot of good West Coast teams.
I won't be watching San Diego. Just heads up.
Nah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not that interested in San Diego this year.
Neither. I don't get no aura from San Diego or the Giants. Like,
no. I mean, we disagreed a lot about the Giants. I'm interested in them, but I don't think they're going to be like my team. Better
Yeah.
tune in after the Yankees.
Yeah, but definitely. I'll be watching a lot of Sacramento. I mean, you got to watch one of your guys, Brent Rooker, play. I mean, again,
Local product.
local product, SEC play. Oh, that's another thing. SEC, that's another qualification.
Does Seattle have any SEC players? Did JP Crawford play college ball?
I
think he did.
He's a high school guy. He
Yeah.
played for
He went to USC.
USC.
Wait, no.
Yeah,
Oh, he was offered.
Oh yeah, he was offered. So
He was a high school guy.
high school guy. I mean, they're really. I think Cal Raleigh is a Texas guy.
I think Cal Raleigh went to college. Yeah.
He played
Florida State.
FSU guy. Yeah. Interesting.
Third rounder.
That's crazy. The more you know.
Any other pitchers? Logan Gilbert. Did he go to college? I think he did.
The high school guy.
Logan Gilbert's the high school guy?
Garver
Logan Gilbert went to Stetson. Yeah.
Garver went to New Mexico. He's from New Mexico.
George Kirby is from Rye, New York. He was a first rounder, though, out of Elon. Interesting.
2019
draft.
Bryce Miller. He was a Texas guy.
Texas A&M.
A&M. Yeah, there's your SEC guy.
Yeah, there's my SEC guy. And then Brian Wu. He went to Cal Poly.
Yep.
Wow.
Been on that campus. Beautiful campus.
They have a sneaky good baseball program.
They had a Brooks Lee, if you remember. So
yeah, in the Twins system.
Yep, very much so.
I guess he's on the Twins now. He graduated.
Yeah. Mitch Haniger, too.
Where'd he go?
Poly.
Really?
Yeah. And Ozzie Smith, Hall of Famer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah. So what do we got next pod? Next, we got Red Sox. We're going to Boston.
That's a good one. That's about the longest flight you can take in the United States, continental United States.
That'll be a long one, so get ready for it, boys and girls.
I feel like it's going to be heated.
It will be.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this Mariners preview. I'm over. Luis is under. Going to be a fascinating team to follow this year. Hope you enjoyed. Until then, until the Red Sox podcast, we'll catch you next time. Peace out.